All right, and we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Comics Kings, and welcome if this is your first time. As always, this is Brandon, and today I'm joined by the Kid and Ryan. How you guys doing today?
I'm living.
I'm all right.
All right, and today we are kicking off our first episode of Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, and this is going to be a live episode every Saturday. How it works is you guys in the community vote on a key issue for what you guys want to see on this show, and you guys have voted, you guys have spoken, and today we're going over Invincible #1 from Image Comics by Robert Kirkman. This is one of his more defined works, and it is getting a show soon, so that's something to be excited about. Are you guys excited for that? What are you guys looking forward to in the show?
Ryan, you can go first.
Hey, I haven't read the series. This is the first issue I've read, but from what I've seen, it's a youthful energy. It would definitely be the one because I don't want it to sound like a 50-year-olds in a boardroom trying to understand how kids talk. So hopefully it's actually semi-watchable.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite This is one of my favorite just comics of all time. One of my favorite stories of all time. Definitely my favorite Kirkman story. So I'm really excited for this. Plus the fact that it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, the same guys behind The Boys and fucking Preacher. That just tells me that I'm at least going to get something good out of it. It may not be the best adaptation that I could possibly think of, but it's definitely going to be looking fucking great. Plus, the voice cast is amazing. So I really just hope that the show really just puts this character in the place where it needs to be, because I feel like this is I feel like those who know and have read know how fucking good that Invincible is and how much it circumvents and kind of reinvigorates the whole superhero genre. And yeah, in such a unique way. But I think putting it on like the broad spectrum of things, I really am fucking excited for it.
I mean, I'm pretty excited too. It's always fun to see when something that you've liked for a while or something that you've read comes on the big screen, and it's gonna, from the looks of it, everything looks like copy and paste. And let's address the chat real quick. We got No Good Comics. Justin, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. And let's actually get into this issue. So we start off 4 months after he has powers, and he's just kicking ass, right? And then that's going on for 2 pages. Then we get the behind, and this guy's just taking a deuce, getting ready for school, and his mom's banging on his door, and he's like, Jesus, Mom, I'm just reading a comic book, because that's, what other way is there other than that,
I did enjoy that he was reading The Walking Dead. I thought that was a pretty good
Yeah. That's the thing about it, like, you can't tell this from like any of Kirkman's interviews or anything like that, but he really is a fun guy. The only thing is that he just lets it all out on the page. You don't really hear this from hearing him speak in anything.
My only gripe is the way he's holding his comic book right there. No. No.
And this is only you would come up with that. Only you. I really hope you understand that. Only you could think about something like that.
I mean, I like that he's reading a comic. This when you go digital. This when you read your comics digitally when you're on the toilet. Like when you drop it, like no, there's so many things that could go wrong in that situation. But then he comes down and he gets ready for school. He turns on the TV and his dad is in Taiwan fighting a dragon, and his mother's just like, "Hey, bring me back something from Taiwan."
The most part about the scene in general is that, and it's really just an overall technique that Kirkman uses throughout the whole storytelling of this first issue, is that none of this is explanatory. Kirkman goes in treating the reader as basically like you and I. He knows that we're on the same level and that he knows that like you're used to all the current superhero tropes. We're not walking you into the fact that, oh, his dad is a superhero, oh, he might have powers. It's all just, this is their normal life. This is cool. And it's cool because most of the times, especially when they're setting up stuff like this, we're getting handheld the whole time. But now we're just, walking in and they're just like plopping us right into the dichotomy of it all.
All right. And we got another person in the chat. What's up, Gabby, saying I picked up the trade paperback of Volume 1, read the first issue of Invincible. You're excited for the show? So are we. It's going to be really exciting, and I'm glad to see it. I'm going to be glad for it to come out. All right, so then we get to the part where he actually developed superpowers. Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive spider. Superman was just born. This guy throws a piece of trash and it just goes 20 feet in the air.
I thought that was a fun little moment. I thought that was a pretty cool little thing. Not like some Herculean task of strength. He just kind of chucks a garbage bag
like
100 feet in the air.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you know I'm not your typical Safeway worker. I'm not your typical grocery store worker. I'm actually part of something bigger now. It was like, okay, great. Then he's at the dinner table. His dad just whooshes in, and he's like, "Hey, I got superpowers." And it's like, okay, who cares? You know, they're skipping over like they knew it was coming, and I think it's really foreshadowing for what's to come next.
It's foreshadowing for what's to come next, but it's also kind of because, like, obviously, because the whole family obviously knows that Omni-Man is like the whole thing. They know, like, it's just genetics at that point. Like, if you're gonna reproduce with someone who has powers like that, you have to expect your spawn to have some type of powers. You have to expect your kid to like have something. So it's more, again, it's not a thing of like, oh, it's this big whole thing. It's just normal life for them. The fun of this issue doesn't necessarily come from them setting up and figuring everything out. It's finding out how they're going to deal with it.
Right. And speaking of dealing with it, then he just tries to fly on the next page, and he ends up flying, right? So now he's like actually thinking, okay, I'm a superhero. So then he's like his first kind of battle. He's going out in what we call today a COVID mask. That's like, I mean, we see this every day. I mean, obviously then, but now it's like kind of funny because it's like this is how people look every day. You think like a superhero is someone who goes on, puts out a mask, and fights crime. Today it's like, okay, we would just go on with a mask and go grocery shopping.
The funny thing about the funny thing about his first little adventure and trying to figure this stuff out, did it remind anyone else of the Kick-Ass movie when Dave's trying to like jump across the bridge? I really felt he was like, oh man, but what if I'm not invulnerable? But maybe I have my dad's invulnerability. But maybe I'm just gonna leap. And it's like, oh, cool, I didn't fall.
I haven't seen Kick-Ass, but
no, while I was reading it, I was like, this seems vaguely familiar, and then I realized it was Kick-Ass.
And especially when you think about it in the larger scheme of things, that Robert Kirkman and Mark Millar are like best friends, and they're kind of like a master protege type thing. It's just like, oh my god.
I always think Mark Millar was a little bit more like Grant Morrison in his style, not so much Robert Kirkman, but that's just me.
Mark Millar is mainly just unnecessary cynicism towards the entire world in terms of all of his books.
But the one person he does love, and he so much so that he took under his wing, was of course Robert Kirkman. So yeah,
I guess it all comes full circle. So anyway, his dad is just watching him beat the crap out of these two guys, and he's like, "You can't be looking like that." So he gets his suit. He goes to the dude's friend, and they're underground, and he's like, "Okay, how does this look?" And Invincible doesn't like the costume, and well, we don't know he's Invincible. He doesn't like the costume. He's like, doesn't pop. So the tailor's like, okay, yeah, now figure out your name so I can match it. So then
I'm not sure how much of I'm not sure how much of a spoiler this is, but I love how that scene with his costume kind of sets up the fact that it's gonna be Rex's suit, and like literally maybe a couple issues later. So if you look over the course of the whole story, Rex starting off by getting Mark's throwaways, I feel like that just sums up his whole character arc.
Right. Rex is literally just the tailor. I don't really think he's meant for anything. He's just the tailor, you know, and what I've read so far, that's exactly what he is. So we're at school, and there's a bully, so he pushes him, and then he's in the principal's office. All right, so then the principal's office, like, yeah, you're picking on people taller than you. You're not invincible. And I'm like, okay, as a principal, I would never say this to anybody. So this is like my least favorite part of the book.
I disagree. I really like the scene. I was gonna say that I'll talk about this more later, but that scene, like, I like the way the principal talks to him, and like this just goes through the issue as a whole. Like, one of my main problems in modern comics is writers treating the audience like they're idiots. Like this book, I think it's really good at setting up the story, but also not just being a giant issue of exposition that is like, hey guys, this is everything that's going on. It's like, this is what's happening, and we're setting up things, but you're expected to also know what's going on. And the principal, like, just the dialogue in general, it kind of gives it this timeless feeling where this could be going on in, 1950, but it also could be going on in 2003. Like it gives it the setting. And
any of the hand holding here. Like,
yeah, exactly.
it very much walks you in, and it's kind of like a kid learning how to swim, and then you just throw him in the deep end and like survive. Like, I love it, and I really wish that more writers would do this, because I don't need this inconspicuous hand holding that takes up 3 pages and kind of has a whole history lesson tied to it. Snyder.
Can we just agree that Snyder can never write like this?
No. Yeah.
Anyway, what's up, Jen? Thank you for joining. Good to see you in the chat. And back to what we were saying about how simple this issue is. It's like it does so much with like so little. Like it's not like spectacular. Like it flows really well. I just have an issue with some of the language that Kirkman is doing. You know, it's like there's some words that he can make better because some things are very cliche. You know, like let's go to the end. He's like, there are people who are robbing a place, and he's like, okay, you guys looking for this, and holds a car up. You know, he's like, I wouldn't try that. I'm invincible. And then we just go to the next issue. Like, it's a cool name drop, you know, and it's supposed to have that feeling. It's just, I think that he could kind of do a little bit more with his words, you know?
It's supposed to be cliche because the whole character is cliche. The whole character is very much of that same line of, oh, this is our prodigal hero type thing. So he's just subverting expectations in a way where you know it's coming, so you might as well just deliver it solid.
It reminded me more somewhat of like Raimi's Spider-Man, and it was that era, but it's basically like this is like distilled to its core superheroics. Like you have the scene of him figuring out his powers, you have the scene of him doing normal day stuff, and you have him like, ooh, can I fly? I'm not really sure. It's basically just like a cliche superhero story, but I think it works really well.
Swap out William for Harry Osborn, and it could be the same thing. Literally be the same. And so at least Kirkman is, playing on these things and playing on these typical heroics and playing on what we already come for of these tropes, but he's just, giving his own little spin on it.
Right, and I love it. Corey Walker on art, this is very short-lived. He's eventually going to be replaced by Ryan Otley, who I always say this guy is horrible. I think he's very horrible at Spider-Man. What Ryan Otley's done in Invincible is amazing. Spider-Man with his gig. Corey Walker's art in this, it was good. It was simple. I think Otley has done it better. So if you guys want to stick around for 7 more issues when Kirkman says, hey, this book isn't coming out on time, here you go, Otley.
I feel like Walker had to walk so Otley could fly, and it definitely shows, because even so much so for the show, they didn't take a look at Walker's designs at all. Like I don't even think he was calling for a board meeting. They were just like, hey, Otley, go grab your pen, write out these character designs for us, and here, you can come take a first look at all of our shit.
Right. All right, so next part of our show, Hall of Fame or Hall of Shame. When we're looking at a Hall of Fame key issue, that means it has to be a good read. It has to bring the characters in, tell the story. Where would you guys put this? Yeah, you can go first.
So, again, I actually think I can offer a unique perspective in the sense of I hold absolutely no reverence for this series, in the sense of like, obviously it's acclaimed and whatever, but I had never read this or any other issue of Invincible. And purely as a first issue of a book, I think it succeeds in almost every aspect. In the sense of it's a great setup, it's a great story on its own, and it basically just it presents you with information about the world without necessarily doing a whole lot of world building, and I think it's pretty well, and obviously it is the start of a much loved series. So I would definitely put it in the Hall of Fame category. Yeah.
And what about you, kid?
Well, yeah, I kind of would. Not for any of the story aspects of it, though. But if just take a look at the context surrounding it. For those of you that don't know, this isn't even actually Invincible's first appearance. He first appeared in Tech Jacket #1 a year before this, in October of 2002. And this first issue actually sold literally 10,000 units, 10,000 somewhere around there units, and then ends up to being one of the highest selling indies of all time. Like, just to put you on, just to give you some context of like where this series started, it came out around the same time as like Batman Hush was going down, and that issue was selling like 100,000 units, no off rip. So I really feel like to see it grow and to watch it go from like caterpillar to butterfly, I honestly really feel like this definitely needs to go in the Hall of Fame, not just for the story itself, because all of these things are very colloquial. Like, these are all things that we very much expect, but it's all just the style of which that it's done. But I feel like the growth of it all is what puts it in the Hall of Fame.
Right, and I completely agree. For what this story sets up for what is yet to come, this issue alone does a great job at introducing the reader to this world, to this character, to his family, and saying this is what we're going to be expecting. It introduces all the characters in a way that's not forced. Like, we were just talking about on other podcasts, Deep Beyond #1, and how it kind of rushed the characters were introduced. This issue does a very good job at bringing in everyone, establishing their connections, their relationships, without overdoing their purpose to that story. So I'm still going to put this in the Hall of Fame category, simply for it does its job. It does its job really well and is a very enjoyable read.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement. It's Hall of Fame. Now, for everybody in the chat, if you guys want another key, we already have people voting on my Instagram, Comics Kings, on our Instagram, Comics Kings. Drop a comment under the picture, and you guys can vote for your key. Right now, I think the top two are Young Avengers #1 and Giant Size X-Men. So that's going to be a lot of fun. How it works, I take the top two comments, I put it in a poll, and then you guys vote, and that'll be the next episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you to the kid for joining me. I'm still figuring out which way to point. And thank you so much for Ryan. You guys are going to be seeing a lot more of these two on this page. Thank you guys so much for catching the live show. If you're catching the replay, very much appreciated as well. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Peace.
And, Ryan, is there anything that you want to share real quick before we head out? Going on your channel?
Well, I just released the big second episode of my deep dive into Scott Snyder's Batman and the City of Owls. A lot of stuff coming. I am slowly making my way through Batman by Grant Morrison, Omni Volume 2. So, expect stuff on that. But yeah.
Grant Morrison, Omni. We'll talk about it. And then Gabby says, awesome first episode. Thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next episode. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday tomorrow.
Peace and blessings, y'all.